What's going on, guys? Snake Eyes here, playing some more Dark Souls 2. And in this video we're going to be doing a weapon showcase, and the weapon we're going to be showcasing today is the Possessed Armored Sword. Now if you don't know how to get this weapon, keep in mind that you do need the second DLC, Crown of the Old Iron King, to get it. If you have the DLC, then all you need to do is farm the Possessed Armored Knights, or I guess they're called Knights. Farm those guys and eventually they'll drop it. That's easier said than done, but I'll go ahead and talk about that in just a little bit. Now we're going to go ahead and go into the details of the weapon. Since I've gotten this weapon, I've upgraded mine to plus 10, so my base damage is at 170. I also get a 100 base damage in fire. It has 110 in the counter strength. It does 25 poise damage per hit. It has 50 durability and it weighs 5 pounds. The requirements for this weapon is that you need 20 strength and 13 dexterity, and it gets an E scaling in strength and dex, and it also gets a C scaling in fire. Now this weapon is kind of tricky and it has a lot of mechanics to it that at first I didn't really understand. Now I think I'm at a pretty decent enough level to where I feel like I can explain it. Keep in mind that I am going to be trying to do this step by step, and I may or may not miss something, but for the most part, from what I gathered right now, I'm going to go ahead and start off with one of the cons, and that's that throughout the leveling process of the weapon, from level 1 to I guess level 10, it doesn't increase in scaling at all. It stays at double E and C. That's kind of something that's bad, and normally with a lot of the other weapons, scaling starts increasing once you upgrade it. The only way people are able to actually get an increase in scaling is if they infuse it with fire. In a way, that's a con for me, because it's almost like there's really no point in upgrading this weapon unless you plan on using the fire infusion. And like I said, for me, it feels like it's almost forced upon you. And also for me, using fire as an infusion really isn't the best option, even though it is one of my best infusions to go with, mainly because I PvP in the Iron Keep and a lot of people really have fire resistant armors and all that stuff. So in all honesty, going with fire really is going to hurt me, for the simple fact that a lot of people are going to be resisting all that fire damage anyways. So for you guys, if you guys don't really have that same problem, then it might not be so much of a problem, but for me it definitely was. And like I said, it just feels like it was almost forced. If you want an upgrade in that scaling, then you have to go with fire. One of the pros that I do like though is that it is a weapon that can self buff itself. A lot of people don't really like that because they say with the low durability, it's pretty crappy that you need to basically use a fifth of your durability if you want to self buff yourself. In all honesty, it doesn't really matter for me, because there are a couple things that you could do to kind of avoid that. One of the things is that you can use a bracing knuckle ring and just use it to buff yourself and then pretty much ring swap out of it. Another thing that people complain about is that the buff time itself isn't that long. It kind of goes back into ring swapping, where you can use the lingering Dragon Crest ring, which will pretty much let that buff last. I don't know exactly how much longer, but it does make it last a little bit longer. And then all you have to do is just ring swap out of that. It seems like the things that people, I guess, kind of said negative about that really are solutions that can be fixed if you're willing to, I guess, do the extra thing for it. But in all honesty, having the option to self buff is kind of a cool thing. I've always really liked it. Some of you guys might not, but that's always something that I thought was pretty nice, since mainly my character has always been pure melee builds. I don't really mess with sorceries or anything like that, and to do something like this is something that I like doing every now and then. Another pro that I really do like about this weapon is that it has a kind of mixed moveset. Now it is a straight sword and it does have mainly a straight sword moveset, but a couple of moves that it does have on it are from the great sword moveset, more specifically the overheads that the weapon has. I'm pretty sure, I think the attack following the overhead is also part of the great sword, but I'm still not too sure. That's kind of something that I thought was kind of cool, because it kind of infuses and I guess combines two different movesets, and like I said, it's kind of something that I thought was pretty unique. Exactly how useful it is, it's, I guess, moderately useful. I didn't see myself using it a whole lot, but then again, I did use it, so it's kind of something that I guess is situational, and it's just something that I've never really seen before. So doing something like that is something that, in my opinion, is kind of a pro. But for the most part, there are a lot of different things about this weapon that I guess are a little bit more unique. Some may like them, some may not. Me personally, again, and this has kind of been like this for the last 2 weapon showcases. I'm kind of split with this weapon. There are some things that I really do like about it, and there are some things that I just feel like really don't make sense. I really feel like it's kind of a bad thing to, I guess, if you want to go with an increase in scaling, to have to go with fire. I don't know how it is with other infusions because I haven't tested it myself. I looked all around online and there's really no, I guess, like data on exactly how that weapon is when it's infused with different infusions. So far people have only done the one for fire, and that's pretty much what everybody says. If you want to increase in scaling, you have to go with fire. So that's kind of something that I don't really like. For the most part though, the weapon itself is pretty solid. It's not really a bad one, and it's actually worth trying because the upgrade material is not anything special. From level 1 to 9 you can pretty much buy all those upgrade materials from Cloan, and then you can farm the slab in Drangleic Castle, or you can just go ahead and take it in PvP at level 9. You really wouldn't have a tough time, and it's not really the worst sword. For the past 2 sessions that I've had, and keep in mind that I had the same session with this weapon that I did with the Fume sword, I noticed with those 2 sessions, or with those 2 weapons, I was having some pretty unique fighting. There were a lot of people trying a lot of different things, and in all honesty, some of the fights lasted a little bit longer than I was used to. With the weapons that I mainly use, fights are over pretty quick, and I'm able to show you guys a whole lot of different matches all in one short video. With these weapons, I noticed that the fights were lasting a lot longer than I was really expecting to. But it kind of goes to show that even in a long game, a long fight, you can still hold your own if you play with the weapon exactly how it's supposed to be. And in all honesty, in my opinion, I feel like it is worth trying if you are trying something new. Seeing how this one was the weapon that I used after the Fume sword, the damage on this one wasn't as bad as the Fume sword, so like I said, coming back from the first one, seeing this weapon kind of do some decent damage that I was used to seeing, and also not being that hard to get. Well, actually I need to take that back. That was one of the cons that I forgot to talk about, and I'm actually going to go ahead and say it right now. The con to it is that it's really hard to get, at least for me. It took me probably close to an hour to get this weapon. Now, originally I wasn't even going to plan on showing how to get it because it was taking me so long. I eventually decided to pretty much tough it out and keep going until I was getting this weapon. Pretty much every single possessed armor in the game for me already has ran throughout all their spawns. I got really lucky, and the bonfire that's next to the Fume Knight boss fight, if you go up the elevator, there are 2 more Fume possessed swords people. I got really lucky, and pretty much almost at the last little bits of their respawns, I was finally able to get this sword. So for me, it was really hard. I was using the Jester's Cap and the Covetous Gold Ring +1 since I'm only in the first new game. It was really tough for me to get it. It might be the same deal for you, or you might get it the first time you kill somebody. But like I said, for me, it was really hard, so I'm gonna go ahead and list that as a con. But with all those things aside, I still think that it's a pretty solid weapon. I don't see myself using it very often, but I do see myself using it pretty much when I'm bored. For the most part, I feel like these weapons on this DLC kind of have been a little upsetting. I was really expecting some of these weapons to be really good, and when you realistically take them out on PvP and see how they handle against other weapons, other mainstream weapons, it's kind of something that has been a little surprising for me, especially since when I was using the first DLC weapons, I was getting some pretty good results. I was actually doing really good with them. I was kind of expecting the same thing with this DLC and their weapons, but for the most part, it's kind of been a little lackluster. I hope this is going to change, but for the most part, that's where I'm at right now. It might change in the future, and I actually hope it does. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up. There's really nothing much else I can say about this weapon. Pick it up and try it for yourselves and let me know how it goes. Keep in mind that the next video I'm going to be doing is on the Ashen Warrior sword. I've actually been getting a whole bunch of requests for this weapon, and in all honesty, I really want to see what the hype is about it. I've looked it up online, and people have been calling it pretty much the best straight sword in the game so far. From what I saw just by scanning through it really quick, it's probably going to take a lot of convincing for me to actually believe that. But for the most part, I can't say anything because I haven't tried it yet. So that's going to be next, and then hopefully the Majestic Greatsword is going to be after that, because I'm pretty much leveling my character to pretty much meet the requirements because I haven't met it yet. But like I said, that's going to wrap it up. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, take care.